If you met 125 millionaires under 30, would you take notes? Well, I did. And in this video, I'm gonna share exactly how they think about growing a business. In 2016, I launched an online business built around my personal brand. It did 2.9 million its first year. And that brand got me green room access at major conferences where I met over 125 young entrepreneurs. They all had one specific thing in common. I call it inverted thinking. Ideas that sound wrong at first, but when you unpack them, show why these people make so much damn money. I'm gonna share several examples that can impact your life right now. All right, number one, do very little to achieve more. I call this the circle of focus. If you were to draw a circle, you will realize that hustle and grind doesn't necessarily produce more. Focus does. So let's say you're trying to grow your business and you decide you're going to mainly grow it on YouTube. So I'll put YT here for YouTube. Now at this point, YouTube consumes 100% of this circle. Means you are completely focused on growing your business on YouTube. But if you now say, okay, I want to grow on Instagram as well. Well, now what happens? You have to draw a line down this circle and you quickly realize that this is no longer 100%. It is 50%. 50% on YouTube, 50% effort on Instagram. Now I know that people tell you you have to be omnipresent, you have to be everywhere, and you can be everywhere, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. But if you look at this circle, you can't deny the math, because now if you say, well, now I'm gonna do ads, okay? And I'm also gonna have a podcast, and I'm also gonna do events, and you just start adding more and more. What happens is you have to keep adding more lines, and you quickly realize that you go from 100% focus to 50% focus to 25 to 5%. Now what you can do right now is pause this video and you can put in your circle all the things you're working on to grow your business. And my God, if you have a second business and you haven't made $1 million with your first one, just light the whole paper on fire, for crying out loud. If your circle looks like a pizza, you are screwed. Now you might say, but how do I be on Facebook and YouTube and this and that? It's simple. You master one. You figure out, here's the type of YouTube videos I'm gonna make, here's the scripts, etc. You hire a content director, whatever. Once you have 90% of this process done, or if it's ads, you know what type of ads work, you've hired somebody on the team, they are now doing it, they have standard operating procedures. Now you can move this thing out of the circle into what I call the delegation box. The delegation box is where you've figured it out and you've now delegated it to someone else on your team, and now it requires very little effort from you. So now if ads goes here, you can add something else to your circle, because now the circle looks more like this. So you have YouTube here, you're focused on YouTube, and ads is here. Because now maybe once every 2 weeks, your team member reaches out to you and says, hey, I need you to shoot these videos, you shoot these videos, done. Now the rest of your time is focused here. That is how you master focus. That is how you get more done by doing very little. So the average person struggles to make a decision because they're faced with multiple opportunities and they can't decide. And so there's this feeling of safety when you don't make a decision. But the thing about not making a decision is that action is also a decision. When I was younger, I delivered pizza, and I was always researching how to make money, how to build skills to grow a business. But I couldn't decide what type of business I wanted to do. And I was stuck in this constant cycle of learning, acquiring skill, but never going, okay, now I'm gonna use it to do this thing. And that was a decision that made me deliver pizza for 7 years. That's supposed to be something you do for like a year. Not 7, that's a career. And then one day the decision was made for me when my girlfriend packed her bags and left. In fact, she went to a family wedding. Somebody in her family was getting married, and she met a guy there. He made more money than me, and phew, out she went. I was like, okay, I'm gonna pick something. Even if I suck at it, I'm gonna do it, because I need to stop making the decision of not making a decision. Tony Robbins said it best. Most people don't make tough decisions because they want to make the right decision. So they make no decision, and that's a decision. So if you're stuck right now, ask yourself, am I actually waiting? Or have I already chosen to stay exactly where I am? I did learn this from an older gentleman. I'm lumping him in because I noticed that the younger guys who followed this same philosophy, including myself, were massively successful. Your biggest expense isn't taxes, it's not rent, it's not your team. It's the ignorance tax, the cost of not knowing how to make more money. Say you make $100,000 a year after all the taxes. Income, sales, property, everything, you keep about $50,000. Now let's say you make $1 million. After taxes, you keep about $500,000. That's if you're in the 50% tax bracket. What is the difference between those two? $450,000. Now that $450,000 gap is what you paid last year for not knowing how to make $1 million. Now what's really messed up is people will spend 70 grand on a college degree that promises a $50,000 job, maybe, but they won't spend $5,000 learning from someone who's actually done what they want to do. So here's what I recommend. I want you to be ruthless, absolutely ruthless with what you don't know. How do you do that? Well, you make a list of all the things that you need to solve in your business, all of the problems that you have preventing you from making more money. Now, if you don't have the funds to go invest in a mentor to start crossing these things off the list so that you can get what you want, it's very simple, and this costs you next to nothing. Go find the biggest problem in your business. Then look up the 3 best-selling books on that problem. Read those books. I promise you, you will solve that problem quicker than you think. Then move to the second most expensive problem that you have. Find the top 3 best-selling books on that, read that, get rid of that problem. And you systematically do that, you're going to grow a business. The worst advice anyone can give you when you say, hey, can you recommend a good book, is them recommending you a book. They need to first ask, what problem are you solving? And then recommend a book. And that is how you get rid of the ignorance tax. Successful people paint a positive picture. Unsuccessful people paint a negative picture. And then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, because if you think, I'm gonna make $1 million this year in my business, naturally, as you go through life, you will think of all the things you need to do to achieve that. But if you think, I'm gonna fail, this isn't gonna work, this and that, well, now you're gonna think of all the excuses and the reasons why it won't work. And if that's all you're thinking about, it ain't gonna work. So if you're gonna make stuff up that's positive, because anything you think about the future right now is fiction. So if it's not real, then you might as well make it positive. Because if it's positive, you have more of a chance for that to be a reality. And that is how you think about the future so you're successful. So the next thing I noticed was they thought everything was their fault. There's this book called Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink and Leif Babin. It's a book about how to basically assume everything's your fault, whether it truly is or it's not. If you do that, you will always be in problem-solving mode. You will always be a part of the solution and not a part of the problem. It also works that way in marriage. Let's say you're married to someone and they're very difficult. If you say it's their fault, then you're never gonna take actions to improve the situation. But if you assume, you know what, it's my fault. I put them under too much stress. I did that, I did this. I could have said it better. You will always be in a frame to improve it. And then you might change their attitude or an employee's attitude. And boom, marriage gets better. And by the way, do not do this in like some sort of depressive way where you're just depressed all day laying around the couch, it's my fault. That's not what I'm talking about. I'll give you a concrete business example that'll make you money. When I first started doing sales calls, if a customer did not understand what I was selling and I knew I was right and I knew they were wrong and I knew they were thinking about it wrong, I would just be like, well, they're wrong and I'm right. Therefore, why should I have to explain myself? Bam. Didn't make any money. But once I started learning better ways to communicate, to make them understand, even if they were stubborn, even if they thought they knew everything, that's when I started making more money, because I was willing to accept the fact that it didn't matter who was right or who was wrong. What mattered was, am I gonna solve the problem? And if I don't solve the problem, ultimately, it's my fault, whether it is or it isn't. These guys do not care about being right. They care about accomplishing the mission. All right, so the next thing I noticed about how these young rich guys thought was they would overpay for knowledge. I'm gonna teach you a really cool trick that's gonna make you a lot of money. years ago, when I just started really scaling sales calls and I had a sales team, we had a problem with show up rate. 20% show up rate. We needed to get it higher. So one of my clients who I help with marketing, she had like a 90% show up rate. And I reached out to her and I said, hey, would you be able to like show us how to get a 90% show rate? That's amazing. And she told me I could, but I really don't have time. Like I'm so busy in the business, thanks to you. Kind of screwed myself there. And so I said, okay, could you show it to me in an hour? How about I pay you $1,000 for that hour? Well, for $1,000 an hour, I would. I said, great. Sent her $1,000. Boom, got on the call. What she showed me on that call massively increased our show-up rate, which made us way more money than $1,000. So the trick here is find someone that knows something that you need to know that does not currently sell it. Because if they sell a coaching program on it, like if she had a show-up rate coaching program, it's going to be $10,000 or something like that. They're going to want to charge a premium for that knowledge. But if they don't sell anything on that, I mean, she was a photographer. She didn't have any sales coaching. Just overpay for an hour of their time and learn what they know. I've done this at least a dozen times in my career, and it has made me a ton of money and saved me a ton on coaching. And that's why you should overpay for knowledge. Now, the final thing is how to charge a lot of money. Almost every single one of these young guys, and I swear I have at least 125 of these dudes on my phone and my WhatsApp, they all struggled with this in the beginning. I'll tell you an example of a client of mine who perfectly illustrates what every one of these guys, including myself, went through. I was messaging him over, I believe it was Instagram, and he said, Dan, I really want to work with you. I need help. I said, okay, what do you need help with? I want to charge $10,000 for my program, for my consulting. And I said, okay, well, we have a program specifically for people who sell premium offers, blah, 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 blah. I explained it to him. And at that time, that program was $10,000. This was years ago. And it was a good program. We enrolled over 2,500 people into that program. So I had tons of testimonials, tons of social proof. There wasn't anything about that. He just could not understand why he had to pay 10 grand to work with us. And I said, okay, what's the reason you're coming to us precisely? He says, I want to raise my prices. I said, okay, so you're telling me that you want to charge a lot of money for what you sell, but you're not willing to pay a lot of money for what somebody else sells. Well, yeah. I said, so don't you see, if you don't have belief that if you have a problem worth solving, you can't wrap your head around paying a lot of money for that, you're not also going to be able to wrap your head around how to charge a lot of money. When you get on the phone, when you ask, you're going to have lower confidence. It's going to come across in your marketing, your content, your conversation on the phone. The customer is going to feel that insecurity. And you're not going to take the actions required to charge that much. You're going to have this doubt because you can't invert that. You can't say, well, I'm not willing to pay a lot, but I'm willing to charge a lot. Doesn't work that way. It's incongruent. And here's the part that's going to blow your mind. That was one of our most successful programs ever. Our success rate was insanely high when it was $10,000. Years later, I took a 2-year vacation. I wanted to spend time with family. I made my bag. I didn't want to work much. So we released that same program for just $100. Not even $100, $97. And thousands of people bought it. And you know what happened to the success rate? It plummeted. Same program. Same exact content. People got less results. Why? Because they didn't pay for it. They didn't have enough skin in the game. When you pay for something, you take it serious. If you want to charge a premium, you got to be willing to pay a premium. And that's how you charge more. This is just a few things I learned from these young guys that I implemented, ways of thinking that helped me create massive success in my business and do over 40 million online with a frickin' laptop. So that is how you think like a young millionaire.